Welcome. It is the 5th of April. It's the first of our classes. We'll probably be doing it in April and May. So we've got about 8 classes. I'll be focusing on fundamentals. And so it's wonderful to see you guys live online, and welcome also to the people who are watching the recordings because of time zones and things like that. So let us begin with warm-ups. Because we're not going to be doing very energetic stuff today, we'll just start with a very mild warm-up. In a couple of classes, I'll actually teach you, those of you who don't know it, the warm-up sequence that we use. And then then you can actually, over time, just warm up yourself. As Master Young used to say, people asked him about doing warm-ups in class, and he said, "You don't pay me to teach you to do warm-ups." No, this is by donation, so I can teach you to do warm-ups. And so let us begin. So we'll just do some easy, gentle warm-ups. So start the easiest way I find the good general purpose warm-up is just marching in place. And Tamara's with us. Welcome. Great to see your name. So just start getting the blood moving, walking at whatever pace you like. I actually quite like to point my toes if when I'm doing this, because that actually gets some movement in the ankles. And taijiquan, if you've practiced taijiquan for a while, you do a long stint, do with form, you'll find that your ankles actually will talk to you. And Greg is with us as well. Hey, Greg, we're just doing a few little warm-ups. Okay, so stand with your feet shoulder width apart or a bit wider. So these blue lines are my shoulder width. And let's just gently start warming up our hips and our thighs. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome. Great to see you. So just go around in one direction. Hey, Greg. Nice to see you. So just go around in one direction. And let's go back in the other direction to warm up the hips. Hey, Dita. Hello. Just doing a few warm-ups. Then we're going to, so we've done the ankles, we've done the hips. Let's do what in taijiquan we call the waist, which is the lower back. So just start by crossing your arms and bend your knees. So we bend the knees so that you don't move your knees and your hips. Right now, try and keep your hips and your knees stationary and just turn your chest. You'll find, and don't go too far, just go as far as you can. And this is actually working your lower back. This is just gently warming up your lower back. In a few classes, we'll start doing waist exercises where we'll really be working on this part of our body a lot because it's essential to taijiquan. If you want, you can actually swing your arms. It'll give you a little bit more leverage as you come to the side, but be careful not to torque your knees. Okay, so that's the lower body. Let's work on the shoulders. So take one shoulder and just rotate it forward. Rebecca, could you mute yourself? I'm getting a bit of feedback. I can hear myself talking. And go back the other way. And then the other shoulder. Just forward and roll it forward. And then roll it the other way. And now we'll open shoulders this way. So open, just with arms bent and arms straight. And with all these things that I'll be talking to you about, I will be suggesting movements. If your body doesn't like them, if anything is uncomfortable, if anything hurts, don't do it. Listen to your body, don't listen to me. What I say is just a suggestion. And now we're going to go in the other direction with the shoulders, up and down. Okay. So those are the warm-ups. I want to start today with a movement that those of you who have done the form will know very well. So let me just get a sense, by show of hands, who of you have done the whole of the traditional hand form? So yes, Dita, Rebecca, Miranda, Sharon, Laura, yes, Tamara, I know has. Um, who has not done the hand form? Who's new to taijiquan? Greg, great, welcome, welcome. So I hope that this class will have, Sharon, your hand is raised. Oh, good, okay, good. So we'll have something for everybody, both people who know the form and people who are brand new to the form. So we're going to do a movement together. This movement is the beginning and the end of the traditional hand form. We're going to keep coming back to this movement through this whole series of classes, and hopefully you'll find more and more in this movement as we do more fundamentals. So this movement is called opening. So start with your feet shoulder width. I'll talk in more detail in a few minutes what exactly I mean by shoulder width, but you can guess. Make sure that your feet are parallel. So if you can, don't have your feet pointing out, turn them in as parallel as is comfortable for you. I actually put little blue tabs on my feet so that I know what's the straight direction. So the center of the foot and your second toe actually is the direction that your feet are pointing in. so that's straightforward. Okay. So what we're going to do, and I'll do this a few times and gradually we'll add more detail, then I'll talk about it. Stand feet shoulder width apart, arms by the side of your body. Rotate the arms and lift them up. Keep the palms shoulder width apart. Lift them until they're shoulder height, and then come down again. As you come down, keep the palms parallel to the floor until they come in front of your waist and stop, and then put them back by the side of your legs. I'm going to move around. You don't have to move around, but just so you can get different angles. So I'm standing in this position. My legs are straight, but they're not locked. So in taijiquan, we're always trying to find the balance. So this would be my legs locked. This would be my legs bent. I want my legs straight, but not locked or bent. So just straight. The hands down the side of the legs. If you've got a seam down the side of your pants, the middle finger is down the seam. Feel as if there's a weight hanging on the middle finger, dropping it down. Now we're going to rotate and lift at the same time. So this is the movement we're going to do. Rotate the arms and lift. They're going to come up to shoulder height, and then they're going to come back down again in one smooth movement. And they're going to stop in front of the hips, palms parallel, and then we're going to bring them back again. Let's do that one more time. Now I want you to add breathing. So as the arms go up, breathe in, and as the arms come down, breathe out. So breathing in, rotate and lift the arms all the way to shoulder height, and then press down again, bring them down in front of the hips, and put them back by the side of your legs. And relax. So the reason I wanted to show you that movement is it's a microcosm. For me, all of taijiquan can be summed up in that one little movement. The first question you can ask yourself is, okay, taijiquan, what is that? Why? What does it mean? So taiji is everything. That's what the word means. Taiji means everything. Chuan means fist. So it's the everything martial art. It's the martial art that's about everything. And what you can see there is that there's a whole body of theory about taiji, and then there's the fist. So when we start class with a salute. And so let me show you the salute and we'll practice it together. So we start with our feet together. We make a fist with the right hand. We have the palm of the left hand that covers the front of the fist of the right hand, and then we press out. And so from the side, it looks like this: lifting up, the palm comes over the fist, and we push out. And in Chinese, the teacher says class hello, and the class says teacher hello. And at the end of class, the teacher says class goodbye, and everybody says class goodbye. The reason why that's such a nice way to begin, it's firstly, it's a sign of respect of each of us to the other. It's a sign of humility, but it actually shows you that taijiquan is about a martial art and it's about philosophy. So in this course, I want to talk about both the martial art, but also the philosophy. Taiji is where the philosophy comes from, and there's a very famous a quote which says, Wuji is the mother of Taiji, and Taiji is the mother of yin and yang. So Wuji means nothingness. It's the void. It's before there was anything. Before there was anything, then out of that came everything, Taiji. And Taiji then, as soon as there was movement, split into yin and yang. And yin and yang are binaries. So for example, in this movement, when we started, we were just at rest. This was Wuji. Then there was movement. We do Taiji. And then we stop and we go back to Wuji. Inside the Taiji, inside the movement, you can see binaries. So for example, you've got lifting up and pressing down. So up and down is one binary, one pair. Breathing in and breathing out is another one. And so those are everywhere in Tai Chi. I'll give you a couple of ones that are sort of important. One of them is practicing on your own and practicing with other people, because it's a martial art. In the end, you learn how to practice with somebody else. You learn how to work with an opponent. We're just going to be doing self-practice. So we're just doing self-practice, not practice with another. There is also in Taiji the question of the outside and the inside, the things you can see and the things that you can't see. We talk about shape and no shape. We'll be mostly working on shape because that's what we can see. But when we start talking about the internals, that's when we start talking about energy, and that's no shape. So in order to give you a feel about what no shape is, let's do some still practice. Another binary, another duality that we have, another yin yang, is still practice and standing practice. And so when we practice taijiquan, we do both. We do still practice and we do standing practice. Usually people do still practice on their own. And then moving practice, still practice and moving practice in a class. So we're going to be doing still practice in this class every time. So I want you to start with your feet parallel, shoulder width apart. And we're going to be doing standing practice. You can do standing practice, you can do it sitting down, you can do it lying down. If any of you have any problems with standing, let me know. We can talk about, I've got a chair, I can show you how to do it in a chair. Talk about how to do it lying down. So start standing. So the first thing I want you to pay attention to is your feet. We notice that the feet are parallel. In Taiji, in Yang style Taiji, usually the feet are either to the straight direction or to the diagonal. In this case, both of them are to the straight direction. I want you to pay attention to where the weight distribution is on your feet. So as you stand there, lean forward and so that you get more weight on the balls of your feet. And then lean back and feel the weight on your heels. So as you lean forward and you get more weight on the ball of your feet, even though your heels aren't off the ground, you can actually lift your heels. And as you go back, as the weight starts coming off the balls of your feet, you can lift the balls of your feet. What I want you to find is the position where the weight is evenly distributed front and back, so that you can't easily lift your heels or your balls. And so we call that weight over the bubbling wells. If you think about the foot, there's an acupuncture point right about here. It's like that's the the ball of your foot. Just below the ball of your foot is an acupuncture point called the bubbling well. And so when we say weight over the bubbling well, all we mean is your center of gravity is over that point. So a little bit more on the front, but also plenty on the heels. So that's the first thing. The next thing, as we stand here, pay attention to the weight on the inside and the outside of your feet. So bring your knees in and feel the weight just on the inside of your feet. Now open your legs, make yourself bow-legged, and you can feel the weight on the outside of your feet. Come back. We're looking for balance so that your feet are even from side to side as well. The shorthand for that is crotch rounded, and we'll see that more easily in the other stance we're going to be doing today, which is bow stance. But feel an arch going through your hips down to your feet so that the weight is flat on the feet. Okay, so that's the footwork. Legs are straight but not locked. Go to the top of your head. Feel your head is lifting. Feel as if your head is a helium balloon and the crown of your head is pushing up. At the same time, you also want to have suspension. So if you think about a balloon, you know, there's a string on it and there's a little weight on the string stopping it from flying away. The whole of your body is that weight. So feel your head lifting and everything from the shoulders down sinking. So that's the first part of standing practice, head up. Now I want you to round your arms. So your arms are rounded, palms are about chest height. I want your hand to be poised, so not stiff and extended like this, but not crunched in and limp like this either. So just feel as if there's a little bit of openness and extension, and about fist width between the fingertips. So your hands are roughly in this position. Now, as we stand in this position, your shoulders might get tired. If your shoulders get tired, it's fine. Just, you can, anytime. Remember what I was saying? If anything I say doesn't work for your body, don't do it. You can drop your arms. Kelly, one of our teachers, talks about holding a bag of apples. So you can always bring your arms down to this position if you want. Okay, so we're back. Head up, feel the rest of the body sinking. In particular, feel your shoulders sinking. So your head is going up and your shoulders are going down. And feel your elbows dropping. So feel as if there's a little weight with a string on the elbows, and your elbows are dropping down. Next, feel as if your elbows are being pulled away from your body. That's going to open your back. So it's going to pull apart your shoulder blades away from your spine. That will make your chest sink a little bit, and your back will be slightly rounded. And at the same time, feel as if your fingertips are pulling away from your elbows. Feel as if your arm, this circle of your arm, is like part of a balloon. It's being opened and expanded. Just like your hands, not limp, but not too stiff either, just in between. And we'll talk about how you find that in between as we go. The next thing I want you to do is to bend your knees. So, bend the knees. Now, check your feet. You'll probably find that your weight distribution has changed. So to find the weight even front and back, if you need to tilt your body, tilt, fold here at the hip crease. Don't bend your chest. Keep your torso straight and fold at the hip crease. And so here, what I want you to do now is to think about your lower back. So your lumbar spine. And I want you to feel your hips are dropping straight down. And we call this relax the waist. What that looks like, again, I'll show you uh, the, the daddy bear and the baby bear, not like this. So not with your tailbone tucked in, and not like a duck either. You want to have your hips dropping straight down. So just relax your arms and move around for a moment. We're going to now put all this together and do standing practice for a minute and a half. As we go through these classes, we'll make it longer and longer. If you can do a minute every day and then make it 2 minutes and then 4 and then more, you'll find that your body starts teaching you things. Okay, here we go. Standing practice. Feet parallel, shoulder width apart. Arms rounded in front of your chest. Bend the knees. Now, we'll do the checks. First, head up. So feel the head lifting. Feel everything from the neck on down, sinking down. Now feel your shoulder blades sinking and your elbows dropping. Feel the pull at the elbows to absorb the chest and slightly round the back. And now the last one, we call this relax the waist. Relax is a translation of a Chinese word that means open, extend, internally extend, loosen. And so feel your hips dropping down. And in this posture, we're going to be practicing the right body shape. So this is the body shape that we'll have in everything we do in taijiquan. This is the body shape, and we'll practice it in different places. So relax and shake it out. So are there any questions? And feel free to interrupt at any point if something I say is not clear. Okay, good. So now we've done a little bit of practice, I'm going to just give you an outline of how I think about what we're going to be doing in the next couple of months. Master Youngjin, our teacher, talks about a progression in learning. And there are 3 stages. The first thing is to understand the reason for why you're doing what you're doing. The second is to get to know your body. How do all the different parts of your body fit together? What kind of body shape, body structure, body movement do we want? And the third one is reach the ability to apply all this knowledge, and apply means martial art. So we're not going to go there because we're just doing self-practice. We're going to be talking about what are the reasons. So that's why I'm going to be talking probably more than I would like. And we're going to be focusing on know your body. Know your body comes in 5 big categories. Lower body, middle body, upper body is 3. In other words, footwork, body, hands and arms. The 4th one is practice methods, things like how you move the waist, how you do relax, how you coordinate. And then the last one, the 5th one is gaze. So how do we, not only how do we look, but how do we express our spirit? So that's what most of our work is going to be on. Today, we're going to start with footwork. As we practice, there's another 3 things that we think about, which are like the stages, the milestones in our practice. The first one is movements familiar. So we've done these movements so many times that our body knows them. We don't even have to think about them. The second is to understand energy. So movements are shape. Energy is no shape. So you can't see it, but you can learn to practice it. And so when we were just doing this and saying, relax the waist, I couldn't tell, you couldn't tell whether my waist was relaxed. You need to find that for yourself. That's how you understand energy. And then the last part is spirit clear. And that's where you see the whole picture and you know the details so well that you don't need to pay attention to them anymore. It's like when you first learn to drive a car, you have to think really hard about like how to do the steering and how to do the gears and how to do everything, what the rules are, where to look, what to do. After you've learned how to drive, you just drive. You don't think about the details, but your body is doing all of them. And that, in taijiquan, is spirit clear. With that background, we're going to start with the first stance today, which is bow stance. So this is what a bow stance looks like. And I invite you to practice together with me. And I'll go through the requirements for a bow stance. And we'll talk about two of the three parts of footwork. So footwork is the stance, how you move, and how you root. So today we'll talk about stance and how you move. So you can see that in this stance, I've got 1 foot to the straight direction and 1 foot to the corner, right? So that's how we do it in Yang style taijiquan. The next is, as you're in the stance, I want you to observe whether you have your weight over the bubbling well. In other words, is the weight even on the front, on the ball and the heel for the front foot and the back foot? So one of the things that you may find is that it's very easy to lean forward and your back foot comes off the floor. And we'll talk about ways to fix that. But so just feel right now where the weight is. The next thing is make sure that you have crotch rounded so that the weight, the distribution on your feet is not on the inside of your feet. So if your knees are not kneed, I'm exaggerating for effect, you can see the weight is on the inside. If I'm bow-legged, which is much harder, then it's on the outside. Usually our problem is that we have our knees tilted in. So make sure that the knees and the toes are in a line for the front foot and for the back foot. So if you've been doing bow stance on the one side, change to the other side and just see what that feels like. So you want 1 foot straight, 1 foot to the corner, weight even front back and even left right. Make sure your crotch is rounded. So the next thing we have to talk about is, let's say I start with my back foot is pointing to the corner. Where do I put my front foot? So the front foot is always going to be shoulder width away from the back foot. Let me talk about shoulder width. So shoulder width means the shoulder width is the outside of the shoulder. And so if you measure from the outside of one shoulder to the outside of the other shoulder, it should be the same as the outside of your feet. So you want if you've got broad shoulders, your feet would be further apart. If you've got narrower shoulders, your feet would be closer. So it depends on your body how far apart they are. I have measured, and this is my shoulder width. I'm sure it's none of your shoulder width. And so for me, because I've measured and I've put the tape on the floor, I have a reference. But if you need a quick reference, if you're somewhere where you don't have tape on the floor, how do you know that your feet are shoulder width apart? This is not very accurate, but it's a nice cheat. So take your pinkies, put them together, and put your hands against your chest, and you'll see that your thumb is in the center of your shoulder. And actually, from the center of your shoulder to the outside is roughly the same width as from the center of your feet to the outside of your feet. So if you just turn this around, you'll find that if you touch your thumbs, your pinkies should be on your second toe. That would be shoulder width apart. Now, it may be that you can't bend down today or you've got some other limitation, but if you can check, this is a good way of checking shoulder width. Okay, so where do we put the feet? First requirement, shoulder width apart. How do we check shoulder width apart? Take the back foot, turn it parallel to the front foot. Now you can see my feet are on rails. Move the back foot forward and check that you're shoulder width apart. When you're checking yourself, be hard on yourself. It's very easy to cheat. And when you move your foot forward, you're not actually moving it parallel. So when you turn the back foot parallel, make sure that it is actually coming forward along the rail. So first requirement, shoulder width apart. It's always shoulder width apart. How far forward do you step? The length of your step forward depends on how low your stance is, and that will change as your practice evolves. You need to step shoulder width apart. So these blue lines, shoulder width. So I need to step onto this blue line here. If my stance is high, so you can see this leg is not very bent, that would be low. Here's another yin and yang, right? So that's long, that's short. Long is just defined in terms of short. My bow stance, this is shoulder width. My stance is quite high. This is what my bow stance would look like. If my stance is lower, I can get further, and so my stance would be longer. It all depends on how high your stance is. The way to check to find this length is step out and come back. You should be able to step out as far as you comfortably can and then just bring the foot back. If you can very easily fake it by making a big step forward, throw your weight forward. This will look like something on the cover of a taijiquan magazine, but you won't be able to come back without yanking it back. So we want to be able to just go forward and come back. So the next thing that we should talk about is what is the weight distribution. No, let's talk about shape first. So when I'm in this shape, you can see my back leg is straight, taiji straight, front leg is bent, taiji bent. So you can see my back leg is not locked. It's straight, so it's not locked. There's a little bit of an absorb in there. My front leg is bent, but it's not bent very far. It's bent just enough that my kneecap doesn't go over my toes. And so you'll see that your shin probably tilts forward slightly if you look at yourself in the mirror or on a recording, but not very much. And the reason for this is so that we actually have enough power here in the thigh muscles to be able to go back. If you go too far forward, it's much harder to bring yourself back. There's a good check for this. If you're in this position, if you're in your bow stance, look down. If you can't see your toes, your knee is too far forward. So make sure you can see your toes when you look down. Okay, now the weight distribution. I've got 60% of my weight on the front foot, 40% necessarily on the back foot. Doesn't have, look, it's not, you know, if you had 59% or 63% or whatever, who cares? It's just saying a bit more on the front than the back. So let's review the bow stance. One foot to the corner. The other foot is straight. We're stepping out, shoulder width apart. We step out far enough that we can step out and come back. We step forward and bend the knee. We bend the knee enough that we've got a little, that it looks, actually that's half of a bow. Your front leg is the shape of a bow, is one of the reasons we call it bow stance. The back leg is straight but not locked. The weight distribution, 60-40. So what we're going to do now is we're going to actually, that's the stance, the footwork. Now we're going to do the next part of footwork, which is moving. So how do we move from one bow stance to another? Before I do that, are there any questions? Okay, good. So one of the things I'm going to try is when I'm facing you, I'm going to imagine that, you know, you're facing the screen, and I will, the instructions that I give, I will mirror. So this will be your left side. This is my right arm, but this should be your left side. And I'll try and remember to have my little mirroring thing out there so that to remind you. And if you think I'm mirroring and I forgot to put that out, please shout and say, hey, Dumbo, you forgot. Okay, so what we're going to do is I want you to perform a bow stance. So start with your left leg is going to be your back leg pointed at the corner. Go into a bow stance, shoulder width apart, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. So now you're in a bow stance here. Actually, I'm going to come forward a little bit. Put that. Okay. Okay, so we're in a bow stance. We're facing in this direction. We want to go in that direction. So we want to turn through 90 degrees. What we're going to do is, we've got 60% on the front leg. Move your weight back slightly. Turn the left foot through 45 degrees. Both feet are now pointing in the direction of your personal corner. Move your weight off your left foot onto your right foot. Step out with your left foot into a bow stance, and you're in a bow stance with the left leg in the front. Now we'll go back the other direction. So shift your weight back slightly. Turn your left foot to the corner. Both feet are pointed to the corner. Shift your weight over. Pick up your right foot. Step out. Shoulder width apart. And go forward. We're going to be doing that over and over again. And I just want to give you a couple of reasons for why we do things this way. So when we turn a foot through less than 90 degrees, we just release the weight slightly. So we've got 60% here, so I go to 50-50, and then I rotate. So I release the weight slightly and I rotate. The next question is, so if I'm in this position, I'm rotating the foot, I'm now going to step out with this foot to that line. Do I just step out straight or do I bring it in? And the rule in Young Family taijiquan is if your feet are more than shoulder width apart before you start moving, you bring the foot in first and then step it out. And that's the case here. So let's do that again. And actually, let's start on the other side. So start with your right foot to the corner, step forward, and perform a left bow stance. Going to shift your weight back slightly, turn your left toe to the corner, shift your weight over onto your left leg, check up more than shoulder width, bring the foot in, step out, shoulder width apart, and move forward. Go back to the first direction, shift weight back slightly, rotate the toe through 45 degrees, shift your weight onto your right foot, step in and out, and go forward. Now, so this is moving. There are a couple of requirements that I want to just flag, and you'll see them showing up everywhere. When we walk, if you just imagine walking normally, if you're just walking along, what happens is your heel will touch, and then your ball, and then the toes. And so we do the same thing when we do taijiquan. It's just like walking. So heel, ball, toe. Heel, ball, toe. And you'll see when my weight comes off, it's again, heel comes off first, then ball, then toe. Heel, ball, toe comes down, heel, ball, toe comes up. So that's the sequence that we'll be using. The next thing is what is the general sense of how we step? So we step in Young style very smoothly and evenly. So one of the images is, imagine it's like you're walking on ice. So you're not sure of the footing. So you lift your foot up and you put it down and you test the footing. And if it's good, you shift forward your weight. Then you shift your weight onto this foot gradually. Yes, I'm good here. Step out, check your footing. You can bring it back if it's not good. Heel, ball, toe. The other thing that we want to do is not lift our foot too high. So the image that we use is it's as if you're walking through mud. You're going to lift the foot up just enough to get it off, out through the mud, and then put it down again. So we don't make big steps, and we don't drag the feet either. So that's turning through turning the body through 90 degrees. We can also go in a straight line. So let's do going in a straight line. So I'm not mirroring now. I'm going to go in this direction so that you can see me doing it. If you want to do it in another direction, that's fine too. So I'm going to perform a left bow stance. So I'm in a left bow stance here. I'm going to keep going in the straight direction. So now I'm going to shift my weight back slightly and open my front toe through 45 degrees. I'm going to open it, not close it. I'm going to shift my weight onto that foot, which is going to be the new back foot. Step out, shoulder width, touch with the heel, ball, and toe. I'm going to keep going. Shift weight back slightly, open the toe to the corner, shift my weight forward, step out, shoulder width, and far enough forward that I can come back, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. The next thing that we should talk about is how do you shift your weight? You're going in a straight line, but whenever you move your weight where you have support, which is where your foot is pointing. So I'm doing a left bow stance, shift my weight slightly, open my left toe. I'm not going to move my weight in the direction of travel. I'm going to move my weight in the direction where I have support, which is in the direction of this foot. So I'm going to move my weight onto this foot, step out, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. Shift back weight, open the toe. So now the next thing I want you to observe here is we want to be crotch rounded. We want to have our knees and toes in a line. And so one of the challenges when we do this is the following. So I'll just demonstrate. So I'm in this bow stance here. Shift my weight back, open this, probably better if I come forward to here. Open. You can see there's a real temptation for my back knee to tilt in because my crotch is not open enough. And also because I'm opening my knee here, that my front knee is not in line with my toe. So what I want you to pay attention to is when you open this foot, make sure that the front knee and front toe are both pointing towards the corner and the back knee and the back toe are both pointing towards the corner. This will require you to open your groin. That's crotch rounded. So let's do this walk. We're in a bow stance, 60% on the front. Shift weight back slightly. Open the front toe. Make sure knees and toes are in a line. Shift your weight in the direction of the front foot. Step through. Heel, ball, toe, bend knee. Shift your weight back slightly. Open the front toe to 45 degrees. Check, crotch rounded, knees and toes in a line. Shift your weight in the direction of the front foot, not the direction of travel. Step out, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. Last one. Shift your weight back slightly, open the toe. Now remember, we're going to lift our feet just enough to get them over the mud and step down very gingerly and go forward. Okay, so that's moving in a straight line. The last thing I want to talk about is, so we've talked about moving forwards. How do we come back? So we're going to talk about turning and coming backwards. So let's see, what's a good direction to do this? Yes. Okay. I'm in a bow stance. I'm facing in this direction. I want to go in that direction. So I need to turn my bow stance around. I'm going to turn my front foot through 135 degrees. That front foot is now going to become the back foot of a new bow stance. Let's start again here. I'm going to shift my weight back. Because my front foot is going to go more than 90 degrees, I'm going to shift my weight all the way back to give myself a lot of room for this back foot. Rotate. If you can, 135 degrees. Shift your weight onto the back foot, release the hip, you'll pivot on the ball of your foot, pick up the foot, step out into a bow stance, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. For many of us, particularly at the beginning, this is hard to do. It's hard to get all the way around. So let me suggest a couple of things that might help. One is put all your weight on the back foot as you come around. Go as far as you can. If you can't get this back foot to 45 degrees, it's not a problem. There are two things you can do. One, as you shift your weight, bring both feet to the corner, then pick up and step forward. Shift your weight back, pivot, come as far. Let's say you can only come to the front. As you shift your weight back, pivot on the balls of both feet, so both feet are now to the corner. Step out, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. If that doesn't work, fix it at the end. Shift your weight back. Let's say I can only come to the straight direction. I should be this corner. I'm going to step out into a bow stance. As I move my weight forward, bring this back foot to the corner direction. So let us practice all three of these movements, and we'll go between them one after another, and you can mix and match. I hope that you'll find time to practice this week. If you don't have a lot of time, and many of us don't have a lot of time, if you could do it just for a few minutes this evening or maybe tomorrow, then it'll help lock it in. Okay, start in a bow stance. So I'm going to go in that direction. I'm in a left bow stance. I'm going to go in that straight direction. Shift my weight back, open the left toe, crotch rounded. Shift my weight in the direction of the front foot. Pick my leg up, step out, shoulder width, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. I'm going to do it again. Keep going in that direction. Shift weight back slightly, open the front toe, 45 degrees. Move the weight forward, step out. Now I'm going to turn around and go back the way I came. I'm going to have to turn this front foot 135 degrees. So shift my weight all the way back. Turn this toe as far as I can go. Shift my weight back, release the hips, pivot on the front ball of the foot, step out into a bow stance, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. Now I'm going to turn through 90 degrees. So I'm going to come towards the screen. That means I'm going to turn my front foot in 45 degrees. Shift weight back slightly because it's only 45 degrees. Turn the foot in. Shift onto the foot. Bring the left foot in and step it out again. Now I'm going to turn through 90 degrees again, going in that direction. Shift my weight. Turn the left toe in. 45. Shift back. Pick up the foot. Step in and out, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. Keep going in the straight direction. So I'm going to open my front toe, shift weight back slightly, open the front toe 45 degrees. Now move the weight in the direction of the front foot so you keep having support. Step through, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. So check your bow stance. Do you have 60% on the front, 40% on the back? Is your back leg straight but not locked? Is the front leg bent but you can see your toes? Do you have a crotch rounded so that the weight is even inside and outside? Now we're going to turn around and go back the way we came. Front foot's going to go through 135 degrees, so shift the weight all the way back onto the back leg. Pivot the front foot, what's going to become the back foot, 135. Shift your weight back, release the hips, pick up, step out, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. And we'll finish going towards the screen. So shift your weight back, pivot the front foot 45 degrees, shift your weight onto the front foot, pick it up, step out, heel, ball, toe, bend knee. Now we're going to check whether the bow stance is still the bow stance. So we're going to take this back foot, turn it parallel to the front foot. Imagine they're both on rails. Move the back foot forward so that it's parallel to the front, and check. Is that shoulder width? That's about shoulder width for me. So that is bow stance, and moving from one part of bow stance to another. So let's just review what we've done. We've done footwork, which is the lower body. We haven't talked about the middle body. We haven't talked about the arms. For footwork, we've talked about the stance, and we've talked about how we move. For the stance, there are actually 6 requirements. The first 3 are: foot is either to straight or to the corner, foot even weight upon the ball and the heel for both feet, and also inside outside, which means crotch rounded. Here's a footnote. One of the reasons why we want to have crotch rounded, and you can now see, it's much easier to see it in bow stance than in this parallel stance. We have a problem as human beings with our balance. And the problem is we only have 2 legs. We don't have 4. So if we had 2 extra legs, we'd be a lot more stable. But we're always weak in this direction or in that direction. We're very strong in this direction. If somebody pushes me here, I'm very strong. If somebody pushes me in this direction, I'm going to fall over. And so having crotch rounded helps give you more stability in this position. So those are the first 3 requirements. The second 3 requirements are: where do we put the feet? So we put it shoulder width apart, and we put it far enough forward that we can bring it back. Number 2, back leg straight but not locked, front leg bent but you can see your toes. And the third requirement is weight distribution, 60-40. So we'll end there. I'll just review a few things, to cover what we've talked about today. But before I do that, are there any questions? Yes, Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, do you have like a YouTube video that shows those things, or that we could look at?
Thank you. That's a wonderful leading question. I am recording these classes. I will be posting the video of this class to the school's YouTube channel. There's a playlist called Tai Chi Basics. I will share the link with everybody who's registered with the class.
I guess, I mean, do you have one of the whole motion of that, of just the isolated part? Or should we just like fast forward to that part of the class and then practice?
Yes. Yeah. So what I will do is I'll put time codes into the YouTube video. So when I get, there'll be a time code for footwork. So you can just jump straight to it. So here is the martial salute. It's a poem in Chinese. The warrior and the scholar come together. They go forth back to back, united as one. They have no weapons. They beg for forgiveness, and they dispel all evil. And so that's how we will finish the class, with the martial salute. We're not going to do the poem. We talked a bit about what Taiji is. There are different ways of spelling the word. So I like pinyin, which is the one with little accents telling you what the tones are. Here's that saying: Taiji, being born of Wuji, is the mother of yin and yang. And so Wuji is nothing. Taiji, we all know that symbol. And that's what those words in Chinese mean. So Ji means essentially limits. Wuji means void, no limits. And then Tai means great, grand, the world, the universe, and everything. So the first thing is that Wuji then leads to Taiji. Taiji has two components, Yang and Yin. They are generally, the connotations are, Yang is bright and fast and moving and expanded and hot and top, and Yin is under or dark or stable or cold. And in our practice, we'll talk a lot about different yin-yang pairs. So practicing self with a partner, still moving practice, shape, no shape. And in the movements that we've been doing, you've been seeing that your weight has been going from one foot to the other. So one foot is empty. In other words, there's no weight on it, and then it becomes full. There's a lot of weight on it. One of the sayings is that taijiquan is the art of hard and soft. And so that's what we are actually learning. I mentioned that there was a progression of learning and stages, milestones in practice. So the first is to understand the reason, then know your body. And so that's where we're going to focus, understand the reason. Hopefully I'm not going to talk too much, and then practice exercises for the body, and then apply the learning, which really is working with a partner, which we can't do. The milestones, the first big milestone that we work for is movements familiar. And then the second one is to understand energy. So we're going to focus on movements for familiar, but we're also going to be talking about energy. And then the last, the ultimate goal, people who are, very well practiced, like Master Young, have spirit clear. It's like, driving a car without having to think about it. That's where we're all headed. So you can see, Taiji is a very, very big practice, and I think we're all just at the beginning of it. In this little course, we'll be doing still practice. We'll be doing still practice in parallel stance, bow stance, empty stance, one-legged stance. We'll be doing moving practice for all those stances. We'll be doing practice methods for the waist, how to relax and how to coordinate the body. I will be talking a bit about energy, and also I'll be throwing in some history and theory, hopefully not too much, but just to give you some sort of sense of why we're doing what we're doing. Students, goodbye.
老师再见.
And there was 老师再见, which was the Chinese. Well done. Thank you very much for that. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next week, and I hope you find some time to practice.